The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, the IMF urges Sri Lanka to align budget with reform goals, warns of risks from tariff changes. Land prices surge by 20% as lower interest rates and economic stability fuel investor demand. ASPI and S&P SL20 continue the upward momentum, posting steady weekly gains amid improved market sentiment. And the S&P 500 and Nasdaq reach record highs as Alphabet shares surge on strong earnings and AI optimism.
From Studio 24C, here's Anuradi Vikramasinghe.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us. The IMF has urged Sri Lanka to prepare its 2026 budget in line with its economic reform program, emphasizing the need for strong revenue spending. It also warned that potential tariffs under the Trump administration pose a risk to Sri Lanka's recovering economy.
The IMF has called on Sri Lanka to align its 2026 budget with program parameters, focusing on strong revenue generation and disciplined spending. It warned the potential tariffs from the Trump administration could threaten the country's economic recovery. The IMF emphasized the importance of maintaining reform momentum to build fiscal space and external buffers, enhancing resilience to shocks. It urged the government to avoid broad tax holidays and instead strengthen tax compliance, broaden the tax base, and improve public financial management. The IMF also recommended safeguarding central bank independence, giving importance to price stability, and avoiding monetary financing of the budget. Overall, the IMF stressed that prudent fiscal and monetary policies are crucial to sustaining Sri Lanka's hard-won economic progress.
Sri Lanka and France signed a bilateral agreement on debt restructuring following an MOU from June. Implementation letters with France's agency Française de Développement, Bpifrance Assurance Export and Banque de France were finalized in July of this year. The signing at Sri Lanka's Ministry of Finance marks the completion of the debt restructuring process. Dr. Harshana Surya Perama and Mr. Yazid Ben Said represented the two governments during the signing. This agreement allows Sri Lanka to resume suspended loan financing from France. It also secures funding for new development projects, strengthening bilateral cooperation. The successful conclusion of this process is expected to enhance Sri Lanka's economic stability. It also opens avenues for further collaboration between the two nations in infrastructure and development initiatives. Sri Lanka's real estate market shows strong recovery in 2025, driven by rising land prices, stabilizing apartment sales, and improved access to affordable financing. This highlights growing investor confidence, especially in suburban areas, as the sector benefits from economic stability and favorable market conditions.
Sri Lanka's real estate sector is experiencing a robust recovery in 2025, supported by economic stability and favorable market conditions. Land prices in the Western Province have risen by an average of 12%, with suburban areas like Colombo District seeing increases up to 20%. The apartment market is stabilizing with modest pricing growth and steady rental yields, reflecting a shift towards long-term investments. Demands remain strong, especially for three-bedroom units, with overseas buyers accounting for nearly 28% of search traffic. Affordable financing, following a cut in the central bank's policy rate, has boosted home loan availability and reactivated buyer interest. Industry experts highlight ongoing new developments and completed projects, signaling a promising future for Sri Lanka's real estate market.
Sri Lanka's central government debt rose to 96.7% of GDP, up by 96.1% in December, driven by currency depreciation and increased borrowing. Domestic and foreign debts both increased, with foreign debt rising faster than the budget deficit. The country's flexible exchange rate regime remains vulnerable to instability amid rising private credit. Since 2022, the central bank has pursued deflationary policies, improving economic stability and reducing the debt to GDP ratio before the recent rise. Plans to boost capital expenditure with foreign loans are underway, but concerns remain over the impact of recent interest rate cuts on debt repayment. Analysts warn that further rate reductions could risk difficulties in managing foreign debt as seen after 2015. Let's take a short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Sri Lanka's stock market posted steady gains this week with both the ASPI and S&P SL20 ending higher. The positive trend signals growing investor confidence and stable market conditions. For further insights on this, we speak with Salama Sanoon from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. The Colombo Stock Exchange began the week on a strong note with the ASPI surpassing the 19,000 mark and maintaining upward momentum throughout. Investor participation remained robust with sustained interest from both retail and high net worth investors. Market turnover was healthy, averaging Rs 5 to 6 billion across 4 sessions of the week. Moreover, the central bank's decision to hold its policy rate steady at 7.75% during its fourth monetary policy review held this week likely contributed to positive investor sentiment. Sector-wise, capital goods, diversified financials, and food, beverage and tobacco saw the highest levels of investor interest. The ASPI ended the week strongly, rebounding on the final trading day to close at 19,468. Thank you.
Sri Lanka's stock market saw strong upward momentum this week, driven by increased retail investor activity and positive market sentiment. Key indices posted notable gains, reflecting growing confidence in the economic outlook. For more on this, we speak with Shahana Kanagaratnam from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. The Colombo Stock Exchange continued the positive momentum from yesterday, with the ASPI surging ahead amidst somewhat lower levels of investor participation compared to the rest of the week. The all-share price index closed in the green, advancing 88 points to end the session at 19,468. The index experienced intraday volatility and briefly dipped into negative territory, after which it continued to build some upward momentum with key positive contributions from Central Finance Company, CT Holdings, DFCC Bank, Bukit Dara and Melster Corp. Daily turnover reached 4.2 billion rupees, marking a 41% decline compared to the monthly average of 7.2 billion rupees. The capital goods sector led in terms of turnover, accounting for 20%, followed by the diversified financials and food, beverage and tobacco sectors, which collectively contributed around 34%. The top 3 price gainers for the day were SMB Finance Non-Voting, Millennium Housing Developers and Gestetner of Ceylon, whilst the top 3 losers were Industrial Asphalts, UB Finance and Commercial Development Company. Thank you.
Gold prices fell in Asian trade today, pulling back further from recent 5-week highs and wiping out most of their weekly advances as optimism over US trade deals and artificial intelligence development dented haven demand. Spot gold fell 0.3% to $3,358.82 an ounce, while gold futures fell 0.4% to $3,360.80 an ounce. Silver outperformed and was headed for a 2% weekly advance. Spot silver prices steadied at 39,115, sensing a relatively smaller losses than gold in recent sessions. Among industrial metals, benchmark copper futures on the London Metal Exchange fell 0.3% to $9,844.45 a ton, while COMEX copper futures fell 0.2% to $5,815 a pound. London copper futures were set for a muted week, while US copper futures were headed for a 3.8% weekly rise as they remain underpinned by expectations of a tighter domestic supplies due to Trump's trade tariffs. Oil prices held largely steady in Asia trading today after sharp gains in the previous session, supported by hopes of more US trade deals ahead of President Trump's nearing deadline. Media reports of extended cuts to Russian gasoline exports also supported crude prices. Brent oil futures expiring in September edged up 0.2% to $69.29 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude futures also gained 0.2% to $66.13 per barrel. Reports showed that pivotal trade agreements between the European Union and the US is nearing completion, with a 15% tariff on most EU exports to the US, replacing a previously threatened 30% levy scheduled to begin on the 1st of August. The Sri Lankan rupee has appreciated against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today compared to yesterday. The Sri Lankan rupee has shown relative strength compared to some regional peers like the Pakistani rupee and Bangladeshi taka, both of which remain under pressure from inflation and external debt. Against the Indian rupee, the LKR has remained mostly stable, reflecting similar macroeconomic improvements. Let's take a closer look at how the Sri Lankan rupee has performed against other major global currencies. A short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Haley's Electronics Limited has launched its flagship smart hub in Nugegoda, uniting cutting-edge energy and engineering solutions under one roof. The new centre strengthens HEL's commitment to sustainability and faster service across Sri Lanka's growing industrial and commercial sectors.
Haley's Electronics Limited, a pioneer in engineering services in Sri Lanka for over 90 years, has opened a purpose-built flagship centre at number 311 High Level Road, Nugegoda. This new smart hub consolidates HEL's full range of solar power smart lighting, air conditioning and industrial infrastructure solutions. This new smart hub consolidates Haley's full range of solar-powered smart lighting, air conditioning and industrial infrastructure solutions. The move aims to streamline service delivery and enhance market responsiveness. The relocation is part of Haley's broader strategy to be closer to customers and support the country's growing demand for sustainable engineering solutions. According to the COO Clyde Gabriel, the Nugegoda hub sets the foundation for future expansion in the evolving energy sector. This initiative highlights Haley's continued investment in innovation and Sri Lanka's transition towards a greener, more resilient future.
Forte Diagnostics has partnered with India's Health Vectors to launch Sri Lanka's first AI-powered medical diagnostics and health data visualization platform. This new technology offers patients interactive, easy-to-understand diagnostic reports personalized with real-time AI analysis. This platform aims to revolutionize healthcare by providing a comprehensive view of a patient's health and enabling early detection of medical issues. The launch event at Shangri-La Colombo featured live demonstrations and insights from medical and tech leaders. Forte Diagnostics chairman emphasized that this innovation will democratize health information and transform the country's healthcare landscape. The partnership marks a smarter, faster and more patient-centric diagnostics in Sri Lanka. Sampath Bank PLC launched a private banking unit at 6 premier branches across Sri Lanka, marking a major step in its elite banking journey. The move strengthened its commitment to delivering exclusive, personalized financial solutions to high-net-worth clients nationwide.
Sampath Bank PLC marked a key milestone with the simultaneous launch of private banking units at 6 prominent branches: Kandy, Kurunagala, Narayanpita, Negombo, Panadura and Vellavatta. This strategic move enhances the bank's commitment to delivering personalized, high-end financial services to Sri Lanka's affluent clientele. The presence of the board of directors and the select private banking customers at each location understood the importance of this initiative. Managing Director designated Sanjay Gunawardena emphasized that the offering goes beyond traditional banking, focusing on trust, relationships and evolving client needs. The new units are designed for discretion and premium service with existing branches, elevating the customer experience. With plans to expand in the future, the initiative reinforces Sampath Bank's leadership in wealth management and private banking excellence.
Uber Sri Lanka has launched its ride-hailing and delivery services in Jaffna, marking a key expansion into the northern province. Residents and visitors can now access affordable rides and on-demand food and grocery deliveries, supported by Tamil language integration for better accessibility. Uber Eats offers Jaffna's widest selection of local restaurants and grocery partners, providing fast and reliable delivery. The service aims to boost the local economy by creating new earning opportunities for drivers, delivery partners and merchants. Uber's app features safety tools like real-time GPS tracking, driver verification and emergency support to ensure rider and driver security. This launch builds on Uber's ongoing growth across Sri Lanka, further enhancing mobility and convenience nationwide. Homelands has set a new record by achieving the highest monthly sales turnover in Sri Lanka's real estate history, generating 7.4 billion rupees. This milestone highlights the company's strong market leadership of growing trust among local and international clients.
Homelands achieved a historic milestone by recording the highest monthly sales turnover in Sri Lanka's real estate sector, with 7.4 billion rupees in sales from 104 units. This record-breaking performance was driven by successful launch of Pentara Residences. The company also reported 25 billion rupees in sales during the first half of 2025, reaching over 80% of its total sales for 2024. With over 20 years of experience, Homelands continues to lead the market through innovation and customer trust. The company is on track to surpass all previous sales records by year-end. This achievement reinforces Homeland's commitment to excellence and transforming Sri Lanka's property market.
Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Asian shares eased from highs while Japan retreating from a record as investors locked in profits ahead of a bumper week that includes US President Trump's tariff deadline and a host of central bank meetings. Japan's Broad Topics Index, which has jumped more than 5% over the previous two sessions to an all-time high, pulled back 0.8%. The Nikkei slipped 0.9% from Thursday's one-year high. Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 0.9% and mainland Chinese blue chips declined 0.5%. Australia's equity benchmark eased 0.5%. The euro ended the session down 0.2% against a buoyant dollar and was little changed today. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq notched record high closes as robust results from Alphabet fueled optimism about other heavyweight AI stocks, while Tesla slumped after the electric vehicle maker's results disappointed investors.
U.S. stocks ended mixed on Friday as the Dow dropped 0.7%, but the S&P 500 and Nasdaq each gained modestly to notch more record high closes. On the tariff front, the U.S.-Japan trade deal and recent signs of progress in talks with the European Union helped fuel Wall Street's gains. Markets also monitored President Trump's visit to the Federal Reserve's headquarters on Thursday, following months of Trump's criticizing Fed Chair Jerome Powell for interest rates the president views as too high. The Fed is expected to hold rates steady at its policy meeting next week. Traders see a 60% chance of a rate cut in September, according to CME's FedWatch tool. Stocks on the move Thursday included Alphabet, which rose 1% as the search giant's results boosted confidence that heavy investment in AI is paying off. On the flip side, Tesla's stock tumbled more than 8% after CEO Elon Musk warned of a, quote, few rough quarters as the U.S. government cuts support for EV makers. Tesla stock has fallen around 25% so far in 2025. Shares of IBM dropped more than 7.5% after its second quarter results fell flat with investors, hampered by disappointing sales in its core software division. And American Airlines stock tumbled nearly 10% after the carrier forecast a big third quarter loss, hurt by sluggish domestic travel demand.
New car sales in Europe fell more than 5% in June. The European Automobile Manufacturers Association has reported this in a reflection of the global challenges faced by automakers.
New car sales in Europe fell more than 5% in June. Data from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association revealed the global challenges faced by car makers. Tesla lost market share for a sixth consecutive month, despite a rise in overall sales of electric cars. While the four best-selling groups in Europe, Volkswagen, Stellantis, Renault and Hyundai, all sold fewer cars than in June last year. Stellantis had the biggest drop at 12%, while VW fell 6%.
And that wraps up today's Nightly Business Report. We value your opinion as always, so please share your thoughts and feedback with us through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. We'll see you again next week with the latest updates across the business globe. And until then, I'm Anuradhi Vikramasinghe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.